To it. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Like it's like take two. Um, yeah, too long in the makeup chair. You know what I mean? No, I did send out a few texts just to check in with people, which worked out great. And then put a couple of notes in the mail. So hopefully you're connecting with people, family or friends that it would be nice to be able to reach out to them and tell them that you're thinking about them. So today is about what is it about? What's supposed to be about? Oh, it's never too late. Yes. So I thought about this, and it seemed kind of odd because it sort of, excuse me, as usual, it sort of came to me this morning like, uh, it's never too late to do something. And it didn't seem like much. I looked up like songs that had, I think I make this smaller. It's weird to like, I don't know if I can change it. I can see myself, and that's weird. Okay, good, it's gone. Um, and I kind of hope I'm live. That, people are like, oh, it's never too late, and you still kind of do stuff. I looked on the interweb, and there was like 25,000 songs with the words too late in it. And sometimes they would say it's not too late, so maybe there's a 50-50 chance. But over, let's say, even if it's half that, like 12,000 songs that have to do with being too late, so maybe it's ingrained like it's too late, like you're not going to be able to do it. So the first thing I was thinking of was um, like what have you always wanted to do? Because typically, like if we say something is too late, like you're wanting to do it, you're wanting to, um, and I think it has to do with age. Like oh, it's too late to go back to school. Too late to learn a language. It's too late to pick up this sport. It's too late to even in some circumstances where it's like it's too late to um, like have forgiveness or give that person forgiveness or repair this relationship. Like it's been 10 or 20 years. Like oh, it's too late to do that now. So think about some of those things that you feel like it's too late. And I think sometimes, like I said, I think it does have to do with age because you feel like there's just too much time has passed or there's just not enough time in which you consider the way that you're spending time and what you have left. So what is something that you've always wanted to do? And if you, like, I kind of had this, I meant to look at it and I didn't, but I kind of had this like little running bucket list of like things I've always wanted to do. One of them was a hip hop dance class, I'll have you know. And I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm not going to say how old I am now, but how young I am now. But since the age of, I don't know, 15, 12, something like that. Like Janet Jackson was all the rage, and like the Rhythm Nation, like it was all those like Paula Abdul, like all those dance videos. Like I just want to be a hip hop dancer, and that's kind of how I was feeling about it. So for my whole life, I was like, I've always wanted to do this, and I guess I don't know. Back in the day, was that 8 years ago? I did get like from the library like these hip hop DVDs that are supposed to like they like taught NSYNC how to dance. It did not work. I'm not good with like the discipline to self teach myself things, and so I finally proactively looked to do it, and there was one close by. So it was interrupted last year by COVID. We were like I feel like we were like 2 months away from our like recital. Like as an adult, I was gonna have like a hip hop recital. It was gonna be amazing. But the fact that I did it for I don't know, probably 6 months leading up to that, I felt very validated that I had done it. So what? And one of the other things is like, what is behind what you've always wanted to do? I know this is like so mixed up today. I'm sure it will even out, or it won't. And you'll be like, yeah, that week she was off her game. Uh, but I'm here. And that was part of it too. It was like, it's not too late. You can't just be like, well, the morning was crazy. You can't do it. It's like, it's never too late. So it's so appropriate that the morning was a little bit different because I was like thinking about not doing it. It's like, well, the message is it's not too late. So that would be odd to tell people. Um, So one of the things that I told people was like, um, I always wanted to play tennis. So I think it's important because one of the things is like finding out what's behind it. So for the longest time, like, I really wanted to play tennis. And then when I actually had the opportunity to, go to a place where they had like, again, in my adult years, for some reason I didn't do things I maybe wanted to do that were a little more formal earlier. I don't know. But I was like, I don't know that this is really a good fit. And when you look into it further, it's like, because my little notes I jotted down, but like, what I really wanted was a community of people that had the same interests that I did. So for me, saying like I always wanted to play tennis meant that I would be able to see people on like Tuesdays who liked the same thing that I did, like we would get together and play tennis. Also, like people that were healthy, like I consider like, oh, you play tennis. So to me, like if I was someone that played tennis, I would be like this physically fit person. And and also, um, let's see, what else did I have on there? Oh, just like a commitment to be somewhere. So if you like have kids or you're single or whatever it is and you just like to maybe have somewhere to go, something to do, someone to meet, that it makes you feel like, again, kind of that, like that community, or it gives you something on your schedule that prevents you from maybe just sitting home. So it was so interesting because at least to me, people are like, I don't know if I find this interesting, but finding out what's really behind something that you've always wanted to do may allow you to realize other ways that you can incorporate those things that you want. So since then, of course, I recognize like, oh, I just want to have time to myself. Like I want to have a commitment to be somewhere so that you can say to your family, I will be back in 30 or 40 minutes or whatever it is, and no one come look for me. I'll be at a designated area. And so, it's important to like recognize that and set aside that time. So then, then I had, community with other things that I had interest in. So that was, good. And then just working out. Like I didn't feel like, like people were going to be like, oh, you play tennis. They're like, yeah, you could tell. But just what it was like just being healthy and having that commitment. And to me, that's what that represented. So looking at behind what it is that you've always wanted to do is, very important. And I think also it is important because it will, recognizing these things will give us new experiences, I think, that we're meant to have. So even looking into these things will create experiences for you that will unfold that you weren't aware of initially, or you may find out that you don't want to do them. So maybe it's expensive, maybe it's time consuming, maybe it's far away, maybe when, and people would say like, oh, I've always wanted to learn a second language. And what's funny is that for me, like what I really wanted to do is be able to look, smart. Like, oh, you hear these people are like, she speaks 5 languages, and you're like, the person is amazing. But how much time away is that from friends and family, or other things that they want to do if they like to have people over, go out to eat? Um, because doing things that you truly love are going to take time away from other things. So for me, there wasn't a strong enough trade-off to like learn another language than it was for me to spend time with my family. So I really didn't have to continue to say I've always wanted to learn another language, because I do, but just because I want to like look intelligent and say like, oh, I know, 4 languages, and everyone always includes Pig Latin, right? Um, with like the elbow nudge. That's for people who don't know any. I don't think, and they just say they know Pig Latin. But um, I realized that I didn't want to trade time for that. So I knew like, well, I haven't really always wanted to do that, because if I did, I could easily, for the most part, I think, set aside, 10, 15 minutes a day, whatever like Rosetta Stone says you need to be able to do that is like, oh my gosh, I think we're at 13 minutes. So, and then whatever you wanted to do, does it support your values? So if there's something that you're really wanting to do, and again, it's taking away time from your family, or it's not keeping you physically fit like you want to be, or your value is education and it's something that, maybe it's travel, but whatever it is that you've always wanted to do, like, does it support your values? Because if you're saying, oh, I've always wanted to, do this, but it goes against something that you're, what are mine that listed? Oh, yeah, like making a difference, new experiences, yeah, you know, making sure that your relationships are growing. So does it support your values? That's good to take a look at, because you may have something that doesn't necessarily match up, that you want to go, wow, this is why I've not been able to do this. So, and also, um, you know, you can always start doing something that you think you want to do, like right away. One of the things that I used to think was like, oh, when I'm, of course, when it's like, oh, when I'm so successful, I'll just kind of be like, not like Steve Jobs, but you know how people have those minimalist clothing things. And I was like, I just want to wear a pair of jeans. I just want to wear like a, little plain t-shirt or something. And that way I don't have to think about what I'm wearing, because I'll be so busy with, all my enterprises, that I won't have time to think about what I'm wearing. And so for me, I was like waiting to, have made it before I could like dress that way. And so one day I was just like, well, I'll just get a bunch of pairs of jeans, a bunch of, solid color, like white and black, like t-shirts, or I don't know, I guess it was summer. And it was funny because it was like, oh, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I had put it behind like, oh, you need to have this, lifestyle for you to embrace this. But really, it was something I could do right away. So it was a good feeling that I could say, oh man, it's something I've like always wanted to do. And then I did it. So maybe there's some things that you're picturing like, well, I can't do this until I've made it to this milestone. I can't do this in my relationship until I'm here. I can't do this with this family member until we're in a certain place. So try to think about the order of things that you have. Like maybe there's things that you can do, like it's not too late. Um, and my mom has a good story, and it's short, fortunately for everyone. One of my brothers wanted to go to get his master's. I guess I don't want to like tell his ages, but let's say he was just not in the 20s. And he was like, but if I go now, I'll be this age when I finish. And she's like, you're going to be that age anyway. You might as well have a master's degree. And that really stuck with me and him, because he ended up doing it. So the time will be there, and you're going to be further in the future, God willing, like eventually. And you might as well have done some of the things that you have wanted to do. Like it's not too late. And that goes with like starting something or quitting something. If there's something that you don't want to do, that you feel like, well, why bother now? Those experiences are waiting for you um, to recognize them, because there's so much more behind it than you realize. Because in your head, you're like, oh, if I start this or do this or quit this, here's what will happen. And usually those are much smaller outcomes than the universe is really kind of orchestrating on your behalf. So trust a little bit that there's a lot bigger and better outcome from those things than you think, because they're in your mind for a reason. Why do I always keep thinking about this? And the great thing is that if you find out something that you don't want to do, like, oh, I always wanted to play tennis, and now I know that I don't. I don't want to trade tennis for like um, something else. And so now I don't have to spend my time like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. And it just takes away from you feeling like you haven't done something you've always wanted to do, um, or, connecting with people that want to do that also, because you really don't. And it just takes it out of your sort of timeline, so that you can more easily concentrate on the things that you really do want to do. And, like the little hip hop dance class, I used to make it happen. Like I went for a little while, and I knew that I did want to do it, but I also realized that I could clearly I was not a good person to like self teach myself. That was not going to happen. So, as long as it's not like harmful or like illegal or hurting someone, then you really do have the opportunity to move forward and do something that you've always wanted to. It's not too late. Or, for any habits that you have, or apologizing to someone, or reaching out, education, relationships, any of those small things that you feel like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. If you have the chance to either keep it in the conversation and like be prepared to talk about what you've done to make that happen, or take it out and replace it with, I really love where I'm at right now. Or again, find out what's behind it. Like when you say you've always wanted to do that, what's really behind the feelings and the experiences that you picture when you do those things. Um, because it can really make or like help us feel empowered when we are talking about things we're actually doing versus things that we want to do. And I think it is kind of interesting that, if you're speaking to someone, both of you are like, yeah, I've always wanted to go skiing. I've always wanted to go to France. If there was only a way, to like save money and fly somewhere. I think conversations allow for much more growth and can be much more engaging when you're like, I am skiing. And it's like, I went to France. And there's so much more robust experiences, and there's such a bigger allowance for like an exchange of what you're living and what you're doing and how to share those things with people. So I think just be aware of that. And it's great to have the bucket list and things you do want to do. But I just wanted to say in a very long way this morning that it's not too late. And just really think about what some of those things are that you can get excited about, that you can take action of, or some things you can tick off your list so you don't feel like, wow, there's another dream I didn't get to realize. That you don't have to feel like it's something you're not accomplishing when really it's just not something that's for you or that you prioritize in your life. So that is it. Whirlwind. Wow, that was a lot. I look, I didn't even get drink any of my water, which is why it's the whole thing. Have a great week. Work your week. Don't work this week. And I will see you guys next week. Hopefully a little more like composed this week, but who's to say? It's Monday mornings, and so that sort of gives us all a little bit of like wiggle room with getting it. So, of course, if you need anything, I'm always here for you. And I don't even know. Now it's too much. Bye. Have a great week.